Recording in progress.
Okay, Agitin Kvittel, everyone. Piska Tava. As we're completing Sefer Devarim and Chamishe Chumshei Torah, we are also completing the Seder that we began at the beginning of the year, Davar Yafeh Be'itai. This will be our last shir on Davar Yafeh Be'itai for the cycle of Chamishe Chumshei Torah. Baruch Hashem, when we started it really as a germ of an idea. We didn't know where it was going to lead to. We didn't know whether we could get even past Bereshis. But we said we'll give it a shot. And the Rebbe Shalom has given us Siyata D'Shmaya. We were Zoicha to make it all the way through Sefer Bereshis, Shemais, Vayikra, Ba'amidbar. Here we are at the very end of Devarim, the final shir of Davar Yafeh Be'itai. Now the good news is, I have new ideas of Davar Yafeh Be'itai already for Bereshis. But I would like to share with you a very important Davar Yafeh Be'itai for V'zois Habracha. Now, the Meshech Chachma, in his final comments on Chamishe Chumshei Torah, where he has something like a siyum, Divrei Chasima, the Meshech Chachma points out that if you look in Tosfos and Megillah on Daf Lamed Aleph, Tosfos is troubled why we don't follow the advice of Shas in terms of which Haftarah we read on Simchas Torah. Because Shas advises that for Simchas Torah, the Haftarah that is read is from Melachim, Vayamid Shloimeh. Shloimeh got up and he prayed. And we don't do that. The Haftarah we read on Simchas Torah is Parak Aleph, Pasuk Aleph of Sefer Yehoshua. How can we go against what the Shas says? Well, Tosfos says that some claim that this is the institution of Rav Hai Gaon. But ask Tosfos, okay, very nice, it's the institution of Rav Hai Gaon, but who authorized Rav Hai Gaon to be Meshana from the Seder of Shas, from the legislation of Shas? So the Meshech Chachma offers as follows. Says the Meshech Chachma, in the times of the Gemara, it was at a time when there was a 3-year cycle of laning the Chumash. So when the Gemara says you lane v'zois habracha on Shmini Atzeres, it's not because we happen to be up to v'zois habracha on Shmini Atzeres, because you could be up to Vayigash on Shmini Atzeres, you could be up to Emor on Shmini Atzeres, you could be anywhere. You could be anywhere in the 3-year cycle. What the Gemara is saying is, we lane v'zois habracha on Shmini Atzeres the same way we lane Sharei Chesed Vayez Ki Valed on the first day of Sukkot. We don't lane Sharei Chesed Vayez because that's what we're up to. That's the Kriyas Hamoyadim for Sukkot. Likewise, the Kriya for Shmini Atzeres is V'zois Habracha, irrespective of where you're up to. It doesn't matter where you're up to. Wherever you may be up to, you need to read V'zois Habracha on Shmini Atzeres. Fine. Now, why? Why would you need to read V'zois Habracha on Shmini Atzeres? Says the Meshech Chachma. Because in V'zois Habracha, we read about God offering the Torah to Esav and Yishmael, and they didn't want it. And ultimately God offered it to the Jewish people, and they were rejected, which is the theme of Shmini Atzeres. For the last 7 days, we were bringing 70 karbanos for the various nations of the world in descending order, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, until the nations of the world dissipate. So V'zois Habracha is the most topical parsha to read on Shmini Atzeres. The theme of Shmini Atzeres is the dissipation of the nations of the world. That's what we read about in V'zois Habracha. That Esav and Yishmael rejected the Torah. God offered it to them, but they didn't want it. Like on Shmini Atzeres, where we're makriv 70 karbanos before Shmini Atzeres, until finally Shmini Atzeres is just us and God. So we don't read V'zois Habracha and Shmini Atzeres because that's where we're up to. Even when there was a 3-year cycle, we read V'zois Habracha and Shmini Atzeres because that's topical for Shmini Atzeres. Says the Meshech Chachma, the Haftarah the Gemara chose for Shmini Atzeres is when there was a 3-year cycle. So, since the Kriyas Hamoyadim is V'zois Habracha, so we read about the bracha of Shloimeh and the Tefillah of Shloimeh in the Haftarah. But now that there's a 1-year cycle and we finish the Torah annually, it would be more appropriate to segue annually into the Nevi'im from the Soif of Chamisha Chumshei Torah straight into the Nevi'im. We're not going against the Shas. The Shas was talking about in a different era, when there was a 3-year cycle. When there was a 3-year cycle, the appropriate Haftarah is Malachim. Now that there's a 1-year cycle, the appropriate Haftarah is Yehoshua. But one thing we learned from the Meshech Chachma, even when there was a 3-year cycle, we would always read V'zois Habracha and Shmini Atzeres. V'zois Habracha is thematic to Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres is the day we celebrate the disillusionment, the disintegration of the nations of the world, which is expressed in V'zois Habracha. So think about how Davar Yafeh Be'itai V'zois Habracha is. The Kriyas HaTorah that Chazal instituted to be read every year on Shmini Atzeres, even when there's a 3-year cycle, because it's most topical for Shmini Atzeres, now Hashkacha has it that we read it every single year. We don't even need to read it as the Parsha of the Mayadim, because annually that is where we're up to. We are annually up to the most topical Parsha to possibly read on Shmini Atzeres time. So the idea that the Meshech Chachma said that they instituted even when there's a 3-year cycle, but nowadays there's a 1-year cycle, so it works out even more beautiful. But one final idea, because the Avudraham gives a different reason why we read V'zois HaBracha on Shmini Atzeres. Because the bracha that Shlomo gave Klal Yisrael, come, we're going to bring in Shlomo for this one. No, okay, he doesn't have to come, but we read about Vayamoid Shloimei Vayavarches Kol Klal Yisrael. When did he give that bracha to Klal Yisrael? He gave that bracha on Shmini Atzeres. On Shmini Atzeres, the Avudraham says Shloimei was Mavarich Klal Yisrael. Vayamoid Shloimei Vayavarches Kol Klal Yisrael on Shmini Atzeres. Melachem Aleph Perek Ches Perek Pasuk Nun Hey, Pasuk Samach Vav. Shloimei HaMelech was Mavarich Klal Yisrael on Shmini Atzeres. Therefore, says Avudraham, we read V'zois HaBracha because the theme of Shmini Atzeres is the bracha, is bracha. Even Shloimei was Mavarich Klal Yisrael. Therefore, we read V'zois HaBracha. Therefore, V'zois HaBracha is what we call Davar Yafeh Be'itai, the most topical and thematic subject to read about on Shmini Atzeres. So, we've, Baruch Hashem, concluded an amazing run of Davar Yafeh Be'itai, but we know there's an idea when you finish something, you have to start right away. So I'm going to add one new idea, how Bereshis is Davar Yafeh Be'itai. I just saw it last night in the Sefer V'roimam Tanu of Reb Shimon Wanunu, who brings from the Sefer Toiras Rabbi Akiva, that the Arizal writes in the Shara Kavanos, that from Rosh Hashanah to Shmini Atzeres, we're masakein the chet of Adam HaRishon. Therefore, he suggests that's why we read Bereshis on Shmini Atzeres. Now that we've rectified the sin of Adam HaRishon, now we're ready to read Bereshis. We don't have to worry about the sin of Adam HaRishon. We're able to read about Masa Bereshis, and we don't have to be concerned anymore for the sin of the Eitz Hadas, because we've sufficiently rectified it from Rosh Hashanah until Shmini Atzeres. So Bereshis, even reading Bereshis on Simchas Torah is Davar Yafeh Be'itai for Shmini Atzeres. Okay, so this is Chasalas Seder Davar Yafeh Be'itai Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, and now we're going to begin the new cycle of this year's cycle, which is coming up momentarily.